الحمد لله الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء المرسلين وعلى آله ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. We start off with the praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is worthy of all of our praise. He is the one who created us. He is the one who fashioned us. He is the one who watches over us even though we are unaware of Him. He is the one who listens to us even though very rarely do we call unto Him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who we will turn to one day, and He will be the one who judges us. And with His mercy, inshallah, we will enter the garden of paradise. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who is our companion during the times of difficulties as well as the time of ease. We then send peace and blessings upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the one that was sent as a mercy to the world, the one who stood up for us crying at night, making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that you and I can enter into Jannah. We send peace and blessing upon the companion of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, upon the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Amma ba'd. If you and I were to ask ourselves the question, what are some values that we look in a person? What are some values that we can judge a person by to understand the value of a person? And a story comes to mind, or a saying comes to mind, where Mufti Shafi, he says that if I were to marry my daughter, and there are only two people in the whole world, one is an alim, a person with knowledge, but this person with knowledge, who has the knowledge of Quran, who has the knowledge of Hadith, but their akhlaq and their characteristics are bad. On the other hand, you have a person who does not have knowledge. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I think we just had some technical difficulties. So inshallah, what we'll do, we'll start again for those of you that weren't able to listen to the first part. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu. ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. We start off by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who deserves all of our praise. He is the one who fashioned us. He is the one who created us. He is the one who hears us through every condition of ours. But very rarely do we call on to Him. He is the one who sees us even though we are unaware of Him. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who is closer to us than our jugular vein. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He Himself says in the Quran, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. And when my servants ask about me, then tell them, I am close to them. And one day, inshallah, we'll return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He will be the one to judge us. And with His mercy, inshallah, you and I will enter Jannah for those. Then we send peace and blessing upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the one that was the final prophet, and he was sent as a mercy to mankind. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the one who stood up at night and cried in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, saying, Ummati, Ummati, O Allah, my nation, my nation. He did not know us, He did not see us, but yet He worried about us. And He worried how you and I will be guided on the straight path. We send peace and blessing upon the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, those who aided him and those who supported him. Amma ba'd. If you and I were to ask ourselves a question, what are the values? what are certain values that we can judge a person by to understand their status, understand who they are, so that we can then reflect into ourselves and look at ourselves and ask ourselves, do we have these same values? And a saying comes to mind of Mufti Shafi, where Mufti Shafi, he says that if there were only two people in the whole world left, on one hand, you have a person who is a scholar, who's an alim, who has a knowledge of deen in Islam, in the Quran. But this knowledge of deen in Islam and the Quran hasn't penetrated this person's akhlaq. And this person with this knowledge, even though they're a scholar, even though they're a sheikh, their akhlaq is still weak. Their akhlaq is still lacking. On the other hand, you have a person who is a common person, a person who hasn't gained this knowledge of Islam, who sometimes struggles with their iman just like you and I, who sometimes their iman is at a high and other times iman is at a low, who struggles with praying their salah, who struggles fighting shaitan, fighting their nafs, fighting the society. But this person's akhlaq is solid. Their akhlaq, their characteristics, their manners are very solid, very sound. Mufti Shafi says, if I were to choose out of these two people, then I would definitely choose the latter. Because a person with good akhlaq, his akhlaq would be sure to make my daughter happy. Now, we look into the akhlaq of what we have. So we understand the value of a person is judged by their akhlaq, their characteristics. What defines you and I as a good human being is not only how much knowledge we have, that makes us a good Muslim. But what defines us as a good human being is how are our akhlaq, how are our characteristics, how are our manners. And if we were to imagine for a moment that there was a store somewhere where you can go and fill out a survey and put in all the characteristics and all the qualities that you want in your parents. You know, let's say you were to rewind back 20 years or 30 years, and you got to choose how you wanted your parents to be. And you were to fill this survey out and fill out this form, and your parents were to be just like that. The reality is that there's no store. That store does not exist. But what does exist is that we can look at the qualities that we would want in our parents and then bring those characteristics into our life for our children. So this means when you were 12 years old and you did something wrong, and your father caught you. I remember when I was a young boy, and I was playing and I accidentally punched my brother. My dad, he called me, Mubin. I went to him, and I was standing in front of him, and I was busted. I knew that I hit him, and I was hoping that somehow he would forgive me. I was hoping that he would be merciful. I was hoping that he would be compassionate. And what we can do is remember those moments of our lives and then take those same characteristics and those same qualities and give and implement them into our lives now that we are parents, and shower our mercy and treat our children the way that we wanted to be treated when we were kids. And you could take this in any relationship that you might have. For example, if that questionnaire you were to fill out, what are the qualities that you want in your spouse? You then take those same qualities and ask yourself, am I offering these qualities to my wife or to my husband? If you were to look at the qualities, what do I want from my children? What is a perfect child? The one that always obeys me, the one that doesn't give me trouble. And then you ask yourself, am I that child to my parents? We want children that make dua for us, but am I the one that's making dua for my parents? We want children that always check in on us, to ask us how our day is going, to take time out from their schedules while our children are at work, our children are at school, or our children in college. We want them to stop and give us that attention. But we ask ourselves, are we giving that attention to our parents? And if you were to look into the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to understand which qualities were important to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Sayyid bin Hisham, he comes to Aisha anha, and he asks Aisha anha, tell me, how was the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? What was akhlaq? How did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam deal with people? We've seen the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam out in public, but behind closed doors, with his relationships as a husband, as a family man. How was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And as Aisha anha, she responds back by saying, have you not read the Quran? Because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's akhlaq was the Quran. And many companions, just by meeting Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and seeing the characteristics of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that was enough to change them. It was his characteristics. One companion says that I never saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam except for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was smiling. Every time I saw the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was smiling. A lot of times our spouses or our children, they get desperate to see us smile. We come home from work and we're so stressed about work that we have this, upset look on our face the whole day. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would always be smiling. Anas bin Malik radiallahu ta'ala, he says that I was with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for 10 years. And these 10 years were not when Hazrat Anas was old, where he was mature. But his mother, Sulaym radiallahu ta'ala, she brought Anas radiallahu ta'ala to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he was only 10 years old. And he stayed from the age 10 to 20 with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he says, never once did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam get mad. Never once did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say to me, why do you do it like this? And why do you not do it like that? Because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was always gentle, always soft. As Anas says, one time Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent me to do some work. Anas, go take care of this. And I was going to do it, but on the way, I saw some people playing. I saw some people, playing some games. And I started to watch. I got sidetracked and I, lost focus. And some time had passed. And the next thing I know, that the Prophet ﷺ was standing right before me. The Rasulullah ﷺ, because I hadn't returned back, Rasulullah ﷺ came looking for me. And Anas, he says that I felt like, you can just imagine, busted. That Rasulullah ﷺ is going to get mad. You ask yourself that when you tell your child to go do something and your child doesn't do it immediately. If you say, Bani Lao, bring me some water, and your child doesn't immediately bring you water, or you say, put out the tablecloth, and your child doesn't immediately put out the tablecloth, or you say, go bring my charger, and your child doesn't drop everything to go bring your charger, how would you react? Here, Anas, he says that I felt like I was busted. I'm going to get in trouble now. But the Prophet ﷺ, he asked Anas, what happened? Ya Rasulullah, I started watching here, and I got sidetracked, and I forgot. The Prophet ﷺ said, it's okay, no worries. Go ahead, finish watching, and then go take care of this task. And this gives you that perfect example of Rasulullah ﷺ. As the Prophet ﷺ, he understood it, how people felt. And at this point where we would want to be dealt with mercy, it is important that we now deal with our children in the same way. If you ask yourself that, I can take my own personal example. If my daughter did something that I told her not to do, Maryam, my daughter, or Maria, Khadija, Amina, any of them, if they were to do something that I told them not to do, and I told them over and over, and they did it multiple times, the third, fourth, maybe the fifth time, I would probably become very upset, very angry. And this is where we understand that the characteristics of the Prophet ﷺ are such that if you were to implement them into your life and bring them into your life, they'll make you a changed person. Now, Rasulullah ﷺ, on so many different occasions, this one companion says that whenever I saw the Prophet ﷺ, he gave me his full attention. That Rasulullah ﷺ, when he would talk to me, he would completely turn to me. He wouldn't be doing something and listen to me, but he would completely turn to me and gave me his full attention, and which made me feel so special. That I went to the Prophet ﷺ and I asked Rasulullah ﷺ, Ya Rasulullah, who is the most beloved person to you? And Rasulullah ﷺ says, the most beloved person to me is my wife, as Aisha. Okay, how about after that? From the men, her father, Abu Bakr. After that, Umar. After that, Uthman. After that, Ali. And the list just carried on. But the lesson that we take from there is that Rasulullah ﷺ gave everybody that special attention, a complete focus. And if we were to take this in terms of our current situation, where so many times our children want our attention, especially now that we're at home so much. Our wife wants our attention, or our family members, our parents, if you're living with your parents, they want your attention. But giving them your undivided attention is something completely new to you. If you were to look at our lives before the coronavirus, our lives somewhat looked like wake up in the morning, go to work. Be busy at work while our children are at school. Come back 4 or 5 o'clock, maybe hit some traffic, get home maybe 6 o'clock. And then once you're home at 6 o'clock, your children are doing homework while you're watching some TV, while you're catching up on your sports. You have this awkward dinner where nobody really talks, and the only conversation that happens at the dinner table is, how was your day at school? It was good. What do you do? Stuff. What do you learn? Things. And that's it. And you retire to your bed. And what we understand is that we start to either avoid our relationships, build a distance from our relationships, or we just touch on our relationships as much as we need to. We don't fully commit to our relationships. We ask ourselves, what is my role in my child's life? How much do I know about my child? If you were to ask yourself, what are your child's favorite things to do? If your son plays video games, what is his favorite video game? If it's your daughter, what are her hobbies? What are her likes? What are the things that are important to her? And when you start to realize that I only touch the surface of my relationship as much as I need to. It's like a person that drinks coffee, but that person knows that I can only have a few sips, otherwise I may be awake all night. Just enough to get by. But now you and I are put into a situation. So first, our lives before, Corona was that we were just touching our relationships and going, or we were completely avoiding our relationships. But now we're in a situation where our children are always around us. Our spouses are always around us. And people that we used to avoid, and people that we really didn't deal with as much as we should have, now they're around us basically 24/7. And those conversations of asking, how was your day, are irrelevant. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a chance to actually go deep into our relationships with our children and actually establish a relationship and understand who they are. You have an option to either be locked up in your room on your computer doing your work, or you have an option to actually engage with your children. You have an option to understand who they are. Go on a walk with them together, or make lunch or dinner together. Now, because we have so much time with one another, it's important that if we don't build on this time that we have, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbid that once we get out of the current situation, that it actually breaks our relationship. If you don't work on your relationships while you're in close, while you're next to each other all day long, while you're with each other all day long, then the moment that this coronavirus is over, then you're going to go back to your old situation, and your children will go back to their old situation. But if you were to take this time and establish a strong bond with your children, get to know them, talk with them, maybe watch a little bit of TV with them, do some activities with them, engage with your spouse, build a relationship, engage with your parents, give them time, give them your focus. Now, so many times we used to say that I would love to be more involved in my child's life, but I'm too busy. I have a business, I have work, I have this and that, but I can't be as engaged in my child's life. But now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has removed that excuse from us. And for us to build that relationship, to work on that relationship, it's important that we start from the beginning of our subject today. We implement some good akhlaq within ourselves. When our children are around us so much, it's important that we tell ourselves that we have to be patient. When our spouses are around us so much, it's important that we tell ourselves that we have to control our anger. And implementing the characteristics of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at this time is very, very important. Yesterday we were talking in our Safa class that when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was 25 years old until Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam received prophethood at the age of 40, there's not much except for one incident that we know of. We asked ourselves, what was the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam doing at this time? How did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam spend his days? From 25 to 40, 15 years of his life, the only one major incident that took place was the reconstruction of the Kaaba. But the answer to the question, what was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam doing? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was busy raising a family. He was busy investing in his children. And this bond that they built at that time was forever. The Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam later on, as Fatima said, when my father, when he would go out somewhere, and upon returning into Medina to Munawwara, he would come to my house to check on me. This relationship meant that much to him. The wives of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they would say that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was inside the house, he would take part in the day-to-day work. Sometimes you would see the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam sweeping the floor. Now, if you have time on your hands, which we all have time on our hands, then vacuuming the floor for our spouses or helping prepare the dinner table or cleaning up after is a good way to build a relationship, because you look at the quality that the wives of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, these small things that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did, like fixing a patch in his clothes, like helping cleaning up. The wives of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they held on to that. It built that relationship, and it made that relationship strong. And now that we have our time, we have this time. There's, I always say there's one option of this whole pandemic is that we just stay at home and feel miserable, and we watch everything on Netflix, everything on Hulu, and it's Star Plus all day long. But the problem with that is you might be entertained for a little bit, but in the long run, you have not gotten anywhere. But on the other hand, what we could do is take this time and kind of engage in the things that we missed out on. We missed out on being part of our children's lives. Now is the time. We missed out of giving our spouses time. Now's the time. We missed out on helping out in at home. Now is the time. A person that works a 9 to 5, who's stuck in traffic, who comes home, who now is tired. This person, for them to help out at home, they have a reason, to not help out by saying that I'm tired, I'm exhausted. But now that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has cut out these excuses in our lives. So we ask ourselves, what is my excuse? Why am I not helping out at home? Why am I not engaging my children? Why am I not having these conversations with my children? One of the best things about being in this, and I kind of referenced this in our khatra on Tuesday, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a great opportunity to sit down and have a meal 3 times a day with our children. So all of the excuses that we've kind of hid behind in our relationships, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has removed those from our path. And now it's important that we bring the akhlaq of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam into our lives and govern our relationships with our children with those same akhlaq and build a foundation that will last. When hardship strikes, when difficult times come, everybody unites as one. It brings us closer to one. And if you take this time and utilize this time within your own home, and come together with your family, that inshallah, this will set your relationships for the rest of your life. Trust me, your children will remember that when we were home together, my father made an effort. When your spouse will understand, when we were home together, that's where things change in our life. And based upon the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, I was sent to complete akhlaq. وَإِسْتُ لِيُتَمِّمُ الْمَكَارِمُ الْأَخْلَاقِ, showing us the importance of good characteristics. And inshallah, this was a reminder I wanted to share today on the day of Jumma, that while we're in this situation, it is important that we make the most. A lot of people are taking classes, alhamdulillah. A lot of people are engaging themselves in different ways, alhamdulillah. But one of the most important ways to engage ourselves is within our family. And at the same time, it's always important to remember that once we come out of this, that we want to have a strong relationship with everything that we missed out. We want to have a strong relationship with our children. Likewise, we want to have a strong relationship in the community, the people that we haven't seen in a while. We want to have a strong relationship with the masjid, that we're not able to go to. And it's always essential to remember that the masjids still depend on us. Even though you and I are not able to go to the masjid, it's important that we still help support the masjid. Or that we still donate to the masjid. The masjid still has bills that it has to pay. But while we're at home, our relationship with the masjid should still be there. So once again, work on these relationships, establish these relationships, and inshallah, what we'll do, we'll end here. We won't line up for Jumma Salah, right? But please do pray your Zohar Salah at home. Until next time, Jazakallah khair. Inshallah, we do have a program with Sheikh Salah and some qurras later on tonight. Tomorrow we have another program with Sheikh Salah, Sister Hala Banani, Mufti Hussein Kabani, and Sheikh Abdul Nasser. Again, stay tuned to all the different programming that the Frisco Masjid is offering. Again, the reason why we're offering this program, because honestly, we miss our community. We really miss everybody, seeing the brothers. Last night, Sheikh Salah, myself, Imam Shakil, Hafiz Abdul Wahid, we got on a conference and we're just having jai with one another, because that relationship that we have, it's just filling a void right now. And the relationship that we have with our community, the Frisco community, is really filling a void right now. So that's why we're trying to offer a lot of programming for the youth, for the adult. Again, please, join us. That way we can, inshallah, go through this epic. go through this pandemic together as one. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses us. He blesses our families, that He gives us the ability to establish strong relationships, that He gives us the ability to engage in our children's life, He gives us the ability to engage in our spouse's life, that He gives us good characteristics, the characteristics of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that when this all finishes, that we are stronger human beings, that we are united as a community, that we are united with our families. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses us on this day of Jumma, that He grants us Jumma in the masjid once again. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us a beautiful Ramadan in this year 2020. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes care of everybody that is ill. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is a shafi. Oh Allah, give cure to everybody who is ill. Oh Allah, help those that